This is my affidavit, invocation, evocation, latent powers. Once again, August, the same day as the Sunday of nationalized Leo, but in Vedic, it'll be in Cancer. So-called August 16th, that's circle 7. The following is an allodial Aboriginal affidavit concerning my personal experiences as an American national of all Moroccan descent and a son of Ruth Moabitis, Ursula Williams of Hank Williams and Bobby Jean Blanchard, Leonard Warren of Tawhida Jabbar Jones and Leon Jones, of which I have experienced a human experience of almost 34 years, according to the colonial training and occupation of Fleet Street, England, and their tentacles of operations upon these lands of the Maghreb that supports and protects their colonial investments against the Aboriginal peoples / heirs of these lands. I will start with talking about the ancient / modern technology that has always existed upon Midgard. However, via the colonial operations of Unum Sanctum / Doctrine of Discovery, their operational formula saw fit to educate me and other Aboriginal peoples of the land not to be privy to the workings of such technology, that it could and would be used as tools to psychologically and physiologically wage war upon our physical and metaphysical equilibrium. In the so-called year, according to colonial training operations I experienced, of 2018, I began to genetically sense machinery and algorithmic formulas that interacted with my hereditament. Internally, I was aware of this, however, not at the insidious level that would unveil itself by the so-called year of 2020 and increasing its obvious unconstitutional usefulness for injury against me, American national of all Moroccan descent, an heir of the Maghreb, part and parcel, and others with the same status, just solely. I want to state also for the record, Grand Sheikh Taj Tariq Bey in his lecture with Dr. G, titled Spellbound, Breaking the Chains of Connotative Slavery. They uploaded it on May 2nd, 2025. Within that lecture, he states that the Constitution is comprised of the Articles of Confederation, the treaty that supersedes it, and the present-day Constitution, and the Organic Declaration of Independence. By the year, so-called, according to colonial training, de facto, 2021, all throughout the year, from the so-called states of Tennessee, Arizona, and Tampa, I had a higher awareness of my genetics being injured through the use of certain technology, seen and unseen. By 2022, in the so-called state of Illinois, this is where my genetics would totally identify how this technology was being used to my genetic detriment within the occupational colonial operations of Unum Sanctum, Monroe Doctrine. By 2022, between June 2022 through August 2026, I observed how the colonial operations of Unum Sanctum, Monroe Doctrine, would surveil my operations of my allodial estates, only to prey, P-R-E-Y, upon my peace of mind, truth of law, justice of rights, freedom of divine and national thought, and love of my ancestors / my heart, to identify certain inhergy signatures of my hereditament, and then attack my hereditament, i.e., my hereditament are as follows, and etc., chakras, my rising energetic frequencies, my natural biological evolution, my freedom of thought, speech, and my application of such, and therefore my very estate. There's been many times where I would be in a relaxing state, and based on the astronomical and astrological cycles that take place upon the planet, Midgard, the occupying operations of Unum Sanctum Doctrine of Discovery, Monroe Doctrine, would come to execute their Spanish Inquisition of trauma, symbols, and repetition of such, using threat, duress, coercion, intimidation, and other tactics and strategies of terrorism in order to achieve their doctrine of discovery operations against my estate. My estate, an American national of all Moroccan descent, a just solely heir of the North Gate, part and parcel. I've always underwent and experienced such terrorism from them. However, the time has come where every man, woman, and child must confess their own and workshop under their own vine and fig tree, my prophet Noble Drew Ali. Astrologically and astronomically, natural law will no longer support their institutional hegemony operations, for the Aquarian lights from Saturn and Uranus has taken all the masks off of the terrorism I, and many others, did not know that we were actually primarily being injured by. For years, we blamed ourselves as a means of accountability. However, we found that much of what was taking place was mostly instigated, unnatural, and generationally waged upon our foremothers and our forefathers' estates, called Doctrine of Discovery, Unum Sanctum, Monroe Doctrine, Dum Diversis, Romanus Pontifex, equals rebranding itself into different phrases, slogans, words, operations, corporations, companies, people, and places. However, all the while maintaining its duty of colonial operation and injury upon the American nationals of all Moroccan descent, the very souls of Ruth Moabitis. I activate the ancient modern genetics of my ancestors, foremothers, forefathers, heirs, and heirs to come. I activate you all at this particular level of my inspiration after reading John Hanson's story on so-called Wikipedia. He is the only and first president in the United States and Congress under the Articles of Confederation to speak under the Great Seal, the pyramid, the Great Seal. They're both as one. They're two sides of the same coin, but no one ever speaks under the pyramid. And I had noticed when I started studying that, I think C. Freeman L. was the first one to bring it to me in 2024, late 2024, about November, December. He said, when I came inside this place, he said, you see this? This is, he said, the seal. He said, this has something to do with you. And then we're going to get into that. Lo and behold, not even 2 so-called years later. So he's the first and only president to speak under the Great Seal. And he is the first president in the United States and Congress under the Articles of the Confederation, which was said also by another Moabitess that I was highly inspired by, which is Dr. G. She said that he was the first. She said that that it was our first federal government. Said the president, he's the first president in the United States and Congress. This is what she said on that same lecture. She said he's the only and first president in the United States and Congress under the Articles of Confederation. And she said, which is our first federal government. So I made sure I put that in this affidavit too for my records. Then I saw, according to so-called Google/Wikipedia, he had an heir named Douglas H. Thomas. I activated the hereditament within that built, established, which is what I'm doing now. I activate the hereditament within that built, established, expanded, maintained, and refined the constitutional fold of government and the Moroccan Treaty of Peace and Friendship that supersedes it, the North Gate, the Maghreb that built America. I activate you all and command you to sup with me, that I may become erudite and remember from which I have came, and my responsibility to my existence, nation, and illumination here. I answer the call within, and I claim Sasha Ivy in my apprenticeship, mastery, and duty remembrance and application, and I demand de jure. I demand I remain pure. I demand I remain uncorrupted. I demand I'm successful in my duties to the laws laid down by my prophet, Noble Drew Ali. Amen Ra, letter completed the writ completed 3:30 p.m. and I consented for my metaphysical, quantum physical, etc. estates.